On the Road by Jack Kerouac is an epic tale of wanderlust set in the United States during the birth of jazz, one of North America's only original music forms. It was a defining book of my youth. I loved his pacing, the images he sketched with his words of bumping, smoky jazz clubs and Benzedrine-fueled treks across vast swaths of countryside. His style was hypnotic and vivid, and as a jazz fan myself, I could hear the songs he described being played by the jazz greats I idolized. But I hated the ending. More specifically, I hated that there was no ending. He and his entourage would blow through thousands of miles in a week, stretching from east coast to west, only to turn around and do it all again in reverse. What's the point, I thought? Nothing actually happens in the story. It took more than a year for me to realize that the journey and the adventures along the way was the whole point. The novel captured the heated moments of ecstasy, the quiet hours of driving through the Nevada desert after a binge of alcohol and friendship. Kerouac, Ginsberg, and his entourage would be caught up in unexpected moments of indescribable beauty, the kind that transport us outside of ourselves, if just for a moment. The book was an impressionist snapshot of modern American experience, relationship, love, loss, tragedy, and adventure. As a portrait of the human experience, On the Road is absent conventional frames of linear storytelling. I had unconsciously come to depend on those novelistic techniques, and when they weren't there, my first reaction was to try and articulate the plot, pin down the exposition, conflict, and resolution. But there were none. I felt rootless and unsteady reading Kerouac. Once I surrendered to the idea that a story didn't have to have good guys and bad guys, didn't have to have a clear beginning, middle, and ending, didn't have to conform to a predictable formula, I enjoyed On the Road. My second time through it, I gave myself over to the momentum and rich imagery in the narrative. I was there, in the car with Kerouac, Ginsberg, and Burroughs. I sensed the music, felt the momentum, and experienced the volatility of his emotional reality. It was exhilarating. Had I held the book to my standards for a traditional story, I would have missed the point. I didn't realize that I was overlaying my expectations on Kerouac. Only after his writing shattered those conventions did I realize they were constraining me to a set, fairly narrow way of experiencing the written word. Kerouac's novels offer an opportunity to look at our lives and our stories differently. It can be frightening and infuriating, or it can be inspiring and liberating. For centuries, we've looked at the Christian story in the traditional linear ways that I tried to apply to Kerouac. We want a beginning, a middle, and an end. The end for much of Christian theology has either to do with the status of your immortal soul after you die, or in a larger sense, the hastening of apocalyptic end times, when God will rain judgment on humanity and will set everything right. Christians will be the good guys, the bad guys will be vanquished, and will be rewarded for fighting on the side of the righteous. It is part of our nature to organize and set guidelines. We all seek patterns in reality. We long to draw boundaries, categorize, label, and attach value to our encounters. In his book, On Intelligence, neuroscientist Jeff Hawkins says this about how the human brain works. It receives patterns from the outside world, stores them as memories, and makes predictions by combining what it has seen before and what is happening now. Prediction is not just one of the things your brain does. It is the primary function of the neocortex and the foundation of intelligence. Sometimes, however, how we use our brains to function in the world can also become a liability. A 2009 Psychology Today article called A Hunger for Certainty put it this way: like an addiction to anything, when the craving for certainty is met, there is a sensation of reward. At low levels, for example, predicting where your foot will land as you walk, the reward is often unnoticeable, except when your foot doesn't land the way you had predicted, which equates with uncertainty.